Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I am Revel Vano Shorty. This isn't a comic book review, and it's almost certainly last more than 5 minutes, because we're reviewing Daredevil Born Again, the thing based off the Daredevil comic book called Born Again. And the title itself is a pretty big deal, because when I was a younger man getting into comic books, the two Daredevil things I was told I should really go and read were Frank Miller's Man Without Fear and Frank Miller's Born Again. Because they are like defining moments in the character. And as much as I'm going to be talking about the TV show, I'm going to probably reference like how it works compared to the comic book and what it does differently. I will be talking to a certain degree about what the show does, but I know way more about comics than TV shows. So I apologize, I'm not going to be getting into talking about like lighting too much or shot composition. I will say there's some fantastic action sequences. Daredevil as a TV show is known for doing those one-shot fight sequences, usually in corridors, but he'll play around with it. But mostly it's going to be talking about why it's different from the comic book. People who don't know enough comic book stuff but enjoy TV shows and movies will quite often come into my store and ask for the comic book version of the thing they've seen. And more often than not, Marvel have never really leaned too heavily into straight-up adaptations. Probably the closest you're going to get is Civil War, but I find it hard to really recommend that one. At best, the Civil War comic book is fine. It's okay. Don't get me wrong, there's some really good stuff out there which you can read to get an idea of the characters and get backstories on things like Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and stuff. But for the most part, they veer off different enough so that if you have read the comic books, you can still see the TV show movie and get something different from it. And it is the differences which I do like in this show. In the comic book, Matt Murdock stops being Daredevil because, for complex reasons, the Kingpin finds out that they're one and the same and engages in a prolonged campaign to destabilize Matthew Murdock, affecting his job, his relationships, his friendships, basically anything about him that he uses to tether himself to the world when he's not being Daredevil, he destroys, and then he screws with Daredevil as well. It's a wonderful, prolonged sequence, seeing how far one man can fall when he has literally nothing left. It moves beyond the whole man without fear, like man without anything is just is a nothing. In this one, it's more in the TV series. I say it's more of like one inciting incident, and I'm going to spoil some stuff right now. So if you've not seen the TV series and you don't want spoilers, don't watch the rest of this video, because the inciting incident very early on is Foggy Nelson being shot and dies. And it could be that would be enough for Matt to like totally reevaluate who he is, and it could be that would have been the case if it wasn't for the thing that Matt did after that. Because the inciting incident wasn't Foggy dying, it was Matt on a rooftop, having beat the living snot out of Bullseye, who'd taken the shot, pushes him off the roof of a building with the intent to kill him. That's a big deal for Matt Murdock. For people who don't know the character very well, he is a Catholic. That's one of those things where whenever something close happens, it is a major thing for him. In the recent Zdarsky run, he does kill somebody accidentally or not, and kind of admits culpability and goes to prison. Interestingly, while wearing his mask. Very, very odd story. Zdarsky had some fantastic ideas, but that one wasn't necessarily well executed. But in this one, the fact that he had an intent to do it was enough for at least him to step away from the costume. Also meant you were no Foggy Wilson, and no other... Oh, I've forgotten her name. The other person who works at a law firm. I'm totally blanking. Do apologise. He has to go and like have a new team to work with. We get introduced to his lawyer partner early on in a very Wire-esque scene of a detective retiring, and that detective actually ends up working for Matt's company as a private eye. This is very, very cool. That sequence is really quite nice, but it does set the groundwork for the idea that as much as Daredevil as a comic book and as a character is open to criticising things like the police force for corruption and brutality and various other things they do wrong, it never goes quite as far as to all cops are bastards, but it understands that there are problems. This scene sets that up, but also makes sure we know that there are good cops. Not necessarily my viewpoint on this one, but I'm interested to see where they go for it. It's a fantasy world. They're allowed to have some, made up stuff. And we also get other new characters. Ben Urich's, I think, niece or goddaughter, who's gone into reporting, doing very much vox pop kind of video stuff, and gets to meet the Kingpin at one point once he's declared mayor, which is another thing from the Zdarsky books, which is a really, really nice thing to do. I feel like it works brilliantly in what's going on in the Marvel Universe at the moment. And we get Matt's new love interest, a psychiatrist and counsellor, who also gets pulled into the orbit of his Daredevil world as well. I think this is really quite nice and give this character a chance to grow and show an awful lot more about her. Because I will say, Matt's lawyer partner, who we only just meet in that opening in a later sequence, does feel like she's not well rounded just yet. I want more of her to figure out exactly who she is, what her motivations are, and her backstory. But most of the ones, there's enough going on just in his first couple of episodes to get what's going on. We also get White Tiger, a character from the Marvel Universe, who is basically trying to defend some people when not in costume. It turns out the people he attacks are police officers. Somebody gets killed accidentally, and he's on trial, which then 100% solidifies this police good, police bad kind of story at the heart of this series. And we're only 2 episodes in, but we're already going hard on it. And the second episode ends with a brilliant finale. It is a superb bit of brutal action. The fight sequence is unrelenting but tight. The aftermath of it is unsettling. It feels like it's the perfect counterpart to the righteous anger of Daredevil at the start of episode 1 to where he is at the end of episode 2. 100% leaves it in a place where I want to find out more of what's going on. I genuinely do think this is probably one of the best bits of Daredevil media I've seen since the very first series. It's unfortunately a Netflix canon. It kept trying to recapture what made season 1 fantastic of Daredevil, which meant it felt kind of repetitive, like it was just trying to do the same thing over and over again. When you took him out of that TV show and put him into others, he became kind of one note, which I just think is doing a disservice, especially when you've got like Charlie Cox playing Daredevil and D'Onofrio as Wilson, who's not been as good in other stuff as well. I think the energy they feed off of each other with is what makes it fantastic. And the fact they're working together and doing such a fantastic job, brilliant. Can't wait for more. Thoroughly enjoyable. I hope you have the opportunity to watch it, and you should absolutely go and watch it. That's it for me for now. So I'll see you all again. Look after you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.